Welcome to the What's Your Truth podcast, the show that not only showcases the best of independent artists, but also explores what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. With me on the show today is Lynn Duckett. Born in the sweet southern state of North Carolina and transplanted out to the jungles of the Los Angeles music scene, Lynn started his guitar slinging shenanigans at age 14, and by 15, he was already playing professionally. Fast forward a few years, and this fledgling Eddie Van Halen in the making found himself playing for the likes of no less than the legendary Grammy award-winning artist King Solomon Burke. With Solomon, he toured the world playing venues including London's Royal Albert Hall, Madison Square Garden, and the Pink Pop Festival, and opening for the likes of no less than Van Morrison, Chuck Berry, Derek Trucks, and some no-name band called the Rolling Stones. Now, as impressive as all of that is, Lynn has also been very busy on the country music scene and beyond over the years. He's written and pitched songs to artists including the likes of country icon George Strait, and he's also composed music that has appeared on America's Top Model, Vegas, and more. Most currently, he's lending his sonic blend of sweet and sassy to the Todd Stanford Country Band, and at the top of his extensive list of accomplishments and accolades, he's also recently engaged to a wonderful woman and slated to get properly hitched in the very near future. One of the hardest working guys I know and one of the coolest and most genuine people I've ever met. It's truly an honor to call Lynn my friend, and it's my pleasure to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Lynn Duckett.
Hello, sir.
Woo, hello. How are you?
That was quite an intro. Thank you.
I try, man. I try, but you certainly earned it, because I didn't make any of that up. Right on.
How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. You know, I'm living the dream as usual, as I like to say.
Good.
Life never ceases to keep me on my toes.
Yeah.
So
It's a wonderful LA way, man.
Yeah, you know, that is very true. There is a definite way to that existence. Yeah. So shall we roll into it?
Let's do it.
Awesome, man. Well, my first question for you is, how did you decide that you wanted to become a musician?
You know, it started for me. I was a pretty good basketball player in high school. And that's what I had all my cards in, was I wanted to play in the NBA. And I started playing guitar at about 14. We moved to a new neighborhood, and I didn't have anything to do. I didn't know anybody there. So my dad had the guitar, and he showed me a couple chords. So that summer, I kind of got into it. And then in junior high, some kids were playing in bands and taught me a bar chord. So I could, like, you know, I know one bar chord. I could play AC/DC songs, you know, play the bar chord. And it's like, wow, one bar chord, and just get so much done. So started playing and making a little money playing parties and stuff. And I was by far the worst guy in the band. But by high school, we had got our bands together. We're doing the heavy metal thing, you know, growing our hair out and the earrings and, you know, rebellious in the North Carolina Bible Belt. And we got to play at our high school because, you know, you always want to play at your high school in front of your peers. So we had a band, and our band is, you know, the internet and stuff wasn't around. We didn't know all these other bands, but our band was called Slayer. We didn't know there was another Slayer. We thought we were Slayer.
Oh, wow.
So we played at our high school and incited a riot, and the cops came, the helicopters came, and we were on the news, and we got publicity from all that. And it wasn't anything violent. It was just the kids. They told us we couldn't play. We had it set up where we could play in the gymnasiums. All the it was 10th, 11th, and 12th high schoolers would come in. Band was set up the night before, and we had this fancy gym floor. And they said, you can't be on the floor unless you put the tiles down for like the dance events. So we spent all night putting the tiles down, and we're told the kids could come on the floor. So when all the kids come in, we start playing, and they say, oh, the kids can't come on the floor. So everybody's kind of rah, rah, rah. So as soon as we break into an Aussie tune, boom, they just rush the stage. They're trying to unplug the PA and trying to shut us down. Then the kids just start turning stuff over, and it just we got through about 3 songs, and then it went all crazy. So that kind of got me inspired. I'm like, this music thing, it's kind of interesting. So by high school, I was playing these like illegal bars, river, like the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse type illegal things, and we're all underage, and I'm rolling in at 4:00 in the morning from gigging and going to school at 8, and starting to grow my hair out. Still playing basketball, still pretty good basketball player, but I was making, $1,200 on a weekend, and and I thought, this is better than my job. I'm making $80 a week at my job, and I'm making this playing my guitar. I'm like, yeah, I want to play my guitar. So That's what got me into it. Unfortunately, I was not a great student. I was a decent athlete, but my grades were terrible, and I really wanted to get to Los Angeles, and I found Musicians Institute, and I thought, wow. So I auditioned. Back then, you had to audition to get in. I got into MI and was fortunate enough. My parents supported me to say, hey, if you want to go out there and give it a shot. And I came out, and that was it, man. I went to school, and I felt so fortunate to be here, and it was just like summer camp. It kind of still is in a way, and I just loved it. So, and I've been here since then, and grinding away in the music business. And I guess what I really love about LA is, a lot of the success I've had is totally just coincidence, man. You run into someone you haven't seen, and the next thing you know, you're opening for the Rolling Stones. You're like, what? So those things happen here, and that's what I love about it, because you never know where the day's going to take you. So much opportunity.
No, 100%. LA is definitely a very interesting winding road of, trouble you can get into and equally opportunities you can get into. It's quite a unique place that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And man, you had like a whole, so going back to your high school thing, you literally had, it sounds like a whole, almost mini Woodstock 99 thing going on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All you were missing was a couple of fires, and it would have been just like it.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. It was quite the time,
Right on.
Yeah, I get the hit on Facebook here and there. Hey, remember that high school when you guys blah blah blah? So yeah, it was good times. It was a good exit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you definitely exited with a bang, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So what was the first experience you remember having with music?
The first time when I played, when my dad had got me playing guitar when I was maybe like 8 years old. He bought me a Buck Owens red, white, and blue guitar, and I could play Red River Valley on one string, dun, 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 and I was not interested in it at all. And I was like, okay, I learned that one trick, pops, leave me alone. I think it was being, like I said, like kind of alone in an area that I didn't know anyone, and being able to, and like what music is to all of us. It's a place where we go. We get our instruments and we get into what we're doing. And even though I could only play a couple of chords, man, I was just amused by it, and just immediately fell in love with it. I was like, oh, if my fingers will ever stop hurting, I'll never stop doing this. But, you get past that. And then I think we were playing in our little cheesy junior high band. And I think we played at a party, and I sang my first song and played guitar. It was Foreigner, Dirty White Boy.
Oh, wow.
And that was like, and I thought, and then some people clapped, and I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. I think I want to do this,
Yeah, no, and it really is. It's a special thing, man. And you're so right. You do. It's like your safe place to go almost, and it's where you can just fully be yourself and communicate and create how you want to create. And there's just so much power in that.
Yeah, I look at as I get older, and I look, and I think, I hear people saying, I don't know what I'm going to do when they retire and whatnot. I was like, you should get a guitar, because you're never going to learn it all. You're always going to have a million things to learn, and you're never going to get bored with it. You know what I mean? You could just, and now you turn on YouTube and you see what kids are doing, and you're like, what?
I know. Oh my God, it's crazy, man.
But it's inspiring, He's like, I want to see if I can do that. I've never even seen that before. What is he doing?
No, it's true, 100%. And it's like some of these guys, man, where they're playing like 2 guitar lines and a bass line all at once on one guitar, and it's like some of the stuff that's out there is absolutely mind-blowing. And like you said, younger kids doing it too. It's incredibly inspiring, and it really, it opens up you up to the fact that there's a lot more possible than what you think is possible.
Yeah, I having a grasp on it and seeing and learning new things, man, and even new techniques that seem impossible. You know what I mean? But it just opens up new doors. It just, in your writing and the way you think about it, and in your approach, it changes. I met Lawrence Juber and John Jorgensen last week at an event a friend of mine was putting on. And, when you get to see these guys play, man, you're like, wow, and John was doing like a tribute to Jeff Beck. He came up and played a couple songs, and he's getting really crazy with the whammy bar. And, and it was, it's inspiring, man. It's inspiring to see this. It's not
Absolutely.
scary. It's more like, oh, live for these moments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's true. 100%.
Yeah.
So who are the biggest influences on your work and why?
Uh, you know, early on, I think my first guitar hero was probably Angus Young,
Okay.
because AC/DC stuff, I could kind of play some of that. I kind of, you know what I mean? It wasn't really difficult to play the rhythm parts and stuff. I really liked Van Halen, but I had no clue what he was doing. I was like, it was way over my head. I was just like, wow. Which I think when, people heard Eruption, I think that was most people's response was like, what? Um, and then Ingve came around and he was like the next guy. And we're like, and it's not like it is now where you go on YouTube and you can see any solo you want. Somebody will break it down really slow for you, note by note. It was us trying to slow a record down, or to try to figure out what these guys are doing. And I think kids, myself included, we all get enamored by the speed and the flashiness and all that stuff. So those two guys, Eddie Angus and Ingve. And as soon as I moved to LA, the first guy I ran into who lived in my apartment building was Paul Gilbert.
Oh, really?
I heard some guy playing, and I asked the kids, I go, who is what? And he go, well, he's down. I go, and I knocked on his door. I heard him doing some sweep licks. I heard him playing some Ingve stuff. And I just knocked on his door and I said, hey, can you show me how to do that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were going. I think he had just graduated MI and I was just starting. So that was another stroke of luck. And Paul was an influence, you know what I mean? Like sitting in a room, sitting right in front of that guy and watching his technique, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a whole other world too when you get to actually, even seeing somebody on stage at any kind of distance, when you get to sit there and like literally watch what their fingers are doing, it's a whole other world, man, when you can really just take that in.
Yeah. Yeah, and me, because I was so immersed in metal and rock and stuff, and my mind wasn't really open to. I didn't know much about jazz and didn't know anything about country, and when I got to school and got exposed to all this stuff, it was strange because it really pulled me out of. I kind of got away from metal and stuff really quick, once I heard of Chick Corea and started hearing some jazz and in Scott Henderson and seeing these guys and study with Frank Gambale for a while, and then this takes you into a different direction. So, again, super inspiring stuff,
Definitely, absolutely. And yeah, Chick Corea, man, what another that you mentioned, mind-blowing artist. My God.
Yeah, I remember I was taking one of my finals at school, and Frank Gambale was my private instructor. So
wow.
he's the one that gives me my final, and he was like, so I played something, and he goes, it's your lucky day, man. I go, why is that? He goes, I'm going to be easy on you. And I said, cool. He goes, I just got the Chick Corea gig. I'm in a good mood. Like, hey.
Well, okay, I suppose you are. Damn.
Yeah.
So what's the weirdest thing that's ever inspired you?
The weirdest thing that's ever inspired me.
Yeah.
Wow. I would say, I just did. Matter of fact, I had to hook up the synth because I had a cat sound that I used on a song that was used on a TV show years ago, and a buddy of mine he wanted to use the song or something, and so I got him. I give him most of the song, but I didn't have all the samples together. So I have this cat sample that I built a song around. So that's kind of weird, I guess.
That is very interesting. Wow. Right on. And then how has your art influenced other people?
I was playing on a worship team. I played in a worship team at a church for 20 years, and I had a young lady approach me not too long ago, and she said, you made a CD for me years ago, and I listened to it all the time, and I don't remember what the song was. And she came and she said, it's got me through so many dark times in my life, and I don't even remember doing this, or when I did it or what, it's just something, we do so much music and so many things over the years. But it was moving, I was kind of touched by it to know that, something I had helped something I've made helped someone. I thought that was inspiring.
That's incredible, man. And I mean, honestly, I don't know about you, but for me, that's almost kind of the point, is to like impact somebody's life with what you do. It's like, That to me is the real point of doing this, is to, just have an effect on somebody that's good and that helps them. So that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's great when when you see something that you do moves people. It's a great feeling, because I don't really. It's strange. I don't really, and I know everybody says this, but it's kind of true. I don't really even take credit for the stuff I create, because I don't even feel like I created it. I feel like it just kind of came and I captured it. You know what I mean? It wasn't even really mine. Just I caught it.
I get you, and I get that feel too, where it's like you're kind of a conduit for whatever force of nature is going through you, and I get that. But at the same time, though, even if that was the case, it's you took whatever that was and amplified it and turned it into something that then touched somebody. So I mean, kudos to you, man. That's really huge to be able to say that you affected somebody like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a humbling experience.
100%. And then, do you have any pre-show or pre-studio rituals?
Pre-show rituals. For me, doing big gigs, TV gigs were usually the worst for me for nerves, because I would think about all these things, and on TV a lot of times you only get one shot at it, and if you mess it up, you just messed it up, and it's too bad. They don't stop and go, let's do it again. And I would. The thing with those kind of gigs for me anyway is, if you're out playing 5, 6, 7, 10 songs, after you get 2 or 3 songs into it, you get warmed up and you kind of get into your thing. But when you got something tough to do and you're only gonna get one shot at it, and it's you're under pressure, to get those nerves down, man, is I would try breathing exercises, and I'd seen I saw this documentary where these studio musicians were taking beta blockers, and I was like, what? They're taking beta? Yeah. And the guy in the documentary said, the guy was interviewing him, he goes, well, how many? It was some big orchestra playing, and he was interviewing, and he said, how many people here do you think are on beta blockers? He goes, well, I know for sure like 30 people are, and the other 10 are lying.
Wow.
But I never tried that. I never tried that. So
that's good.
Yeah, just warming up to warm up and play, and try to. The nerves don't get to me so much anymore, as much as they did, but I still have moments, depending on the gig.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I don't know if that ever goes away. I mean, I've heard that to this day, even Eric Clapton, like when he goes out and plays, like until he gets a good solo off, he's like kind of nervous even before he goes on, and it's Eric Clapton,
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's good to know that the masters have nerves.
Yeah, no, they definitely do. So what risks, if any, have you personally taken for the sake of your music?
Risks that I've taken. I feel like it always feels like a risk when you put stuff out there. You know what I mean? Because you don't know how it's going to be accepted. When you're working in film and you're working for directors and stuff, you submit music and you don't hear anything back for a day or two, and now you're pulling your hair out because you think, oh, they hate it, but they haven't even heard it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
That's a good question. Risks. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm at risk of getting. I've always kind of had a fear of getting smashed in the face with a bottle on a big stage where you don't see it coming, because it seems like that's happened to everybody.
Really?
I just saw. I just saw somebody the other day, a big artist. I think a Rage Against the Machine, or I think it was a Rage, and someone tackled someone off the stage. Didn't see it coming.
Oh wow!
And I saw Steve Morris was telling a story one time, and he said some guy was spitting on the stage, and something I don't remember if there was an altercation between him and someone on the stage, and he said the guy spit and it went into his mouth.
Oh,
and I thought, no. Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. Oh my God.
I guess we're always at risk, when you get on stage.
Yeah, seriously. Bodily risk of contracting a disease. My God. So what's the craziest risk you've ever seen another artist take for their craft?
People diving off the stage, to me, I've always thought was kind of risky. And especially I've seen people do it with no fear. You know, they're I guess convinced people are going to catch them. Um, that's to me. I don't think it's something I would do. I don't think I'm a stage diver guy.
Yeah, I don't see that either. And it's like, would I get caught if I did it? Probably. But if I didn't, man, that is going to suck.
Yeah.
Especially if you land on your guitar or something. If you took the guitar with you, that would just be no bueno.
You know, a risk I took, and I never thought about it. I toured through Europe with Solomon, and I never carried a backup guitar ever.
Really?
I carried one guitar the whole time, and I never broke a string. And never, one of the other guitar players, the tour bus opened up, and his strap fell from the top and hit the ground. Bam! We opened it up, and the high E string was like an inch off the neck. It was tweaked. But I thought back, and now subsequently, I've had. I think one night when we were rehearsing, I told the guy, "Your amp is broken. What's wrong with your amp?"
Yeah, I remember that actually.
It was actually my guitar, bro. It was actually my guitar. I figured out when I got home that it was one of my old tellies I hadn't used in a while, and there was a short in the switch.
Oh, no.
Actually, the amp that was broken, and I'm thinking to myself, man, it would have been a bad situation to be out on one of these big gigs and your guitar quit with no backup.
Yeah.
But I learned, you know what? Even playing little teeny tiny gigs now, I always carry two guitars.
No, it's smart. You can never be safe because, yeah, you just never know when that's going to happen. And it does inevitably happen at some point to everyone at least once, I feel like.
Yeah. I've had amps die on me a couple times here and there, but usually there's someone in the band with an amp, you know, and I can grab it.
Yeah, I was going to say that's fortunately one that I've never had happen, but you've also played a lot more shows than I have. So there's that. So what's one thing about you that would shock everyone to know?
I used to be a stripper.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You're not joking.
I'm not joking.
Whoa.
I told my girlfriend this recently, and I think she was really taken back by it. And I said it happened right out of high school, and I got this job as a stripper. But it's not as exciting as it sounds. It was actually working at a printing company, stripping negatives.
Oh, you son of
a... But I was a stripper. That was my job title.
Oh, that's hilarious. Wow. Okay, you got me.
Okay.
What's the one thing or the one tool that you absolutely cannot live without as an artist, and why?
My guitar. I couldn't live life without my guitar. It's just, it's really the only instrument that I'm somewhat proficient with. I play a few other instruments, but you know, I figure out everything on guitar. I write, when I'm doing orchestral stuff, I don't necessarily write on guitar, but when I'm trying to figure out something or chord progressions, or I'm trying to write something, or if I hear something that I can't figure out, I have to grab a guitar and figure it out first. And then I can get the chords or understand what's happening. But yeah, to me, the guitar would be the last to go. I'd let everything go.
Right on. And just to clarify one thing, I would say you're more than just a little proficient at guitar, my friend.
Well,
you are actually pretty incredible on the guitar. So credit where credit is due, even if only to yourself.
Well, that's kind of you to say, man. Thank you.
No, man, it's true. I've learned a lot from working with you. Seriously.
And likewise.
Thanks, man. So what has been the most difficult piece of music for you to create, and why?
Difficult. You know, for me, what I'm working on now, what I'm trying to step my game up in is I haven't had a lot of time to write music for myself, to do my music. You know, I've got lots of, like everybody, I've got thousands of voice recordings on my phone and 300 started songs in here, and then something will come up and I'll get pulled away. Yeah. And usually if I'm doing scoring and that kind of stuff, you know, the scoring and getting stuff is, you're already behind before you start. We need it now. So I've never really got to spend a lot of time mixing. And, you know, I've studied mixing quite a bit and I've done it, but I'm really trying to step up my mix game and production game now. You know what I mean? Because I take it in and I'm always, you know, a little like self-conscious about my mixes and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, it's fine." You know, you take it in, "No, it's fine. It sounds fine." And that's the part where I'm putting energy into now. When I started working, on the Solomon gig, I met one of the guys we play with, Steve Bauman.
Mhm.
Um, he was actually doing TV. He'd got one of Stanley Clark's shows he was working on, and I was kind of interested in working, learning to score, and so we got a film together, and he and I scored the first film I worked on, and so I was really interested in orchestration. So I actually went to community college and took a year piano because I was like, I could play a little bit, but I want to learn some proper technique just because
Sure.
MI had taught me a lot about, if you can have someone teach you something and it'll put you 10 years ahead of you trying to figure it out by yourself. So I kind of like anybody I can learn from, please show me. I want to learn because it's just a super highway to getting you where you want to go. So I bought books on orchestration, and I taught myself orchestration, just reading books and reading on these old composers and stuff. And it's not as applicable today because with MIDI orchestration, it's different, and we don't actually have to worry about blending and hearing everything. A lot of the old stuff was set up. The way it was set up was because you couldn't hear anything. There was no amplification. When you got to hear an orchestra. So that was it was a learning experience, but I loved it, man. I loved it. I started getting into like John Williams and Danny Elfman and the guys who are huge and listening to what they're doing, and I just couldn't get enough of it, man.
That's so
Um,
awesome.
I thought it was difficult, but it was fun. I think it's like for me anyway. If it's something I enjoy, I can't get enough of it, no matter how hard it is. But if it's something I don't enjoy, I can't. I can't do algebra.
Yeah, and I mean, even stuff that's easy, if you don't like it, it feels like work. But I
Yeah,
really love your viewpoint, though, of like, taking the approach to learning. Like, I feel like sometimes people, musicians especially that I've known, and I've been this guy too, like almost feel a little, I don't want to say threatened, but like they feel inadequate if they have to ask somebody for help to learn something. It's like, I love your viewpoint of like, no, that's actually the way to get stuff faster and actually take a 10-year process and bring it down to a few months or a few weeks even, and really just get where you want to go faster and just not be willing to ask for that help. That's so valuable.
yeah. That's one thing I learned at MI is when I was in school for a couple of months and I would go back home to visit between semesters and hook up with the old buddies playing, and they would see just the jump in your ability because what you've learned, and now you're in this. Like a lot of guys are the hot shots in their town, and then they come to LA, and everybody's a hot shot.
Yeah.
And they could see, my friends could see the advancement, and then subsequently, like a lot of my friends packed up and moved out here and got out here as fast as they could because they're like, wow. It was I'm that way. I'm probably a nag to people because if I will talk your ear off if you got something I want to learn, I'll bug you and bug you and bug you until you tell me to go away.
That's so awesome. Though. I mean, that's great. And that's great. It, like, to me, that's the key to a long life too, is never stop learning. So,
Yeah,
I think that's awesome personally.
that's what I love about, I think if I had it to do over, I would have got out of MI and I would have went straight into film school because I
Yeah.
really love film and I really love scoring and I love film music. And I'm not really educated in it, other than just learning by doing it. But I was super fascinated by it, everything. And even I got to a point where I was so into it, I wanted to start acting and I wanted to start writing and I wanted to direct. I thought I was going to, I can't do any of that stuff, but it was I can't get enough of it. I love the entertainment business, man, especially movies and music and that stuff. It's to me, I I I thought I wanted to play basketball. You know what I mean? Other than basketball and music, I didn't have a clue what I was going to do with my life. Not a clue. But yeah, music's the thing, man.
Hell yeah, man. Amazing. So, okay, here's a fun question for you. If you were going to write a book about your career up to this point, what would you title it?
What would I title my book if I was going to write it up to this point? It ain't over yet.
Hell yes. Damn Skippy. I love
It
that.
ain't over yet. Yeah,
Right on.
as I got COVID and I got it pretty bad, and I had, I was in a coma for 17 days, and I had a 4% chance to live at one point. On day 14, they kind of called my family and said he's not breathing anymore, And when I came out of it, I didn't realize I was dying. You know what I mean? I went to the hospital and I was out. I woke up 17 days later and they're like, yeah, dude, you almost died. And I'm like, oh, and then I lost 70 pounds. So I wasn't myself anymore. And the thing that bummed me out the most was I thought, man, if I had died, I'm not finished doing what I want to do. There's so much music I haven't done yet. I got all these songs that aren't finished, and I would have died and none of it would have got finished. That's what I was most worried about. That's what upset me the most.
I believe him, and hey, maybe that's what pulled you through too. Because I mean, there's a lot to be said for having a purpose to living, and you definitely got a big one. So thank God you made it through, man. God, I remember, and that was scary when I heard about that and that was going on. I had never experienced that kind of fear for another human being before. So I'm so glad that you made it through that, man.
Well, man, I appreciate the prayers and everybody out there, and I feel blessed to be here, not taking anything for granted, and it kind of changed my trajectory. And what it really did is it made me realize that, hey, man, you're on the journey. You got to enjoy the journey. You can't be waiting for the payoff at the end or whatever. You got to enjoy the ride, because the ride is the payoff. And that's what you realize when you look back, you know what I mean? Without all this strife and struggle and it wouldn't be worth anything. If it was so easy to do and you got it for free, it's like getting water, you know what I mean? You just have a bunch of water sitting around.
Right. It's actually a really great analogy. That totally actually explains that really well. And you're totally correct.
Yeah. So it just changed my perspective. And you know what? I don't take it because I couldn't walk, man. When I woke up, I couldn't move my fingers. I didn't think I was going to be able to walk again. I couldn't sit up on myself. They had to hold me up in the bed. I couldn't breathe. And at about 35 days in the hospital, not being able to walk, and I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to walk again. I don't take anything for granted anymore, man. Every day I can get up and just grab this thing, man.
Oh yeah,
it's a good day. It's a good day. So this is not taking it for granted, and hopefully people don't have to go through that kind of trauma to realize that if every day is really is a gift, man, especially if you got your health.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game just if you got your health.
100%. And I'm actually really glad you said that. And I mean, that's, again, a big point of this show is to inspire other people and help them learn from our lessons so that they don't have to necessarily go through them. That's a really key lesson that I think gets, especially with the young guys, it gets super overlooked. And even with the guys that have been around, they get into it, and the ones that are more jaded or whatever, and they think, oh, life sucks because I haven't played the Hollywood Bowl yet or whatever their thing is. And it's like, well, you got up today and you got to play your guitar today and you got to write something today and you got to touch somebody's life today. Those are all pretty monumental things, and they beat the hell out of the alternative.
Yeah. And you know what? Like I said, man, it ain't over yet. You might still play the Hollywood Bowl.
It's exactly 100% true. And hell yeah. So, Lynn, what are your plans for world domination?
World domination. Well, I'm about to get married. So,
yes, you are.
I'm
an awesome woman, I might add. You definitely chose well.
She is great. She's a great girl.
She may need glasses, but you chose well.
Yeah, she wears glasses. I just don't let her wear them when she's around me. You know what I mean? For me, what I want to do. I've been saying it for the last 7 or 8 years. I really want to finish my record. I want to put out my record, and or at least finish my record. It's the passion project just to get it done. Yeah. That's if work. I'm starting to get busy again. Things are popping up. I got to, and this is something Adriana's helping me with. You know what I mean? I need to. My problem is I start so much work and then I get into something else and I completely forgot what I was working on. Then I'll open up a drive and go, wow, look at all these songs. That was 4 years ago when I started that song. Oh my goodness. So I think I've got to, time just gets away, man. It gets away so fast. I think my plan for world domination is I need to set some goals for myself to actually finish projects instead of jumping and letting people pull me into other projects and I don't get back to what I'm doing. That's my goal. That's my goal for this year is get this record done, man.
Good. And that's another great lesson too, is finishing the shit you start, because that will just bury you. As you obviously, you know, most guys that have been doing this for long enough have had those experiences, and no, it does. It really, you end up drowning in the projects you start and never finish. So
Yeah,
very good lesson.
it's just magnetic energy on our, if you're gone. Yeah, I've had this discussion with a lot of my friends, musicians, because we all do the same thing. We all have hundreds to thousands of things on drives that no one's heard but us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what, bro? No one's going to come and open those drives up when you're gone and go, I wonder what he was doing. Unless you're Prince or something.
Right.
Then it's a different story.
Well, yeah. And most of the people I know, myself included, are definitely not there just yet. So, Lynn, I got one more question for you. And just to revisit my introduction to the show, the show not only showcases the best of independent artists, but also explores what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. So, Lynn, what's your truth?
My truth. I think my truth is being honest with myself about who I am and what I am, and being truthful to myself about who I am as an artist. Because I think what happens, and where I was warned about this at a very, very early age, if you compare yourself to other people, you're in for a long life of misery. And one of my instructors told me that really early on. This guy's a great guitar player. And I found when, what we all have is something unique. There's something about us, all of us, that are unique. And I think the truth is taking your unique step in yourself and let that thrive, let that live. Don't bury that. Don't bury that, because there's things that you have that nobody else has. There's ways you think that nobody else thinks. There's things you hear that nobody else hears. And I think we get in this competition sometimes in music, and it's not a competition. You know what I mean? It's just a big collaboration. That's what it is. It's the planet of collaboration. We're all bouncing ideas around that we've heard before, and we're just finding new ways to arrange them. Be truthful to yourself, and I think you will be surprised at what comes out, And I think another thing will be me is my girlfriend tells me, like, you're too hard on yourself. You're too hard on yourself. You know what I mean? Because I don't like to see myself on camera. I don't like to hear my voice, all that stuff, So, but I think you got to let it go and just do your thing, man. Just do your thing, do you, and people will be attracted to what you do for your uniqueness, your individuality. So
100%. Hell yeah, man. What a great ending. And man, there's so much knowledge in what you just said, and so much, like, there's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of truth there. I mean, that's really beautiful. Thank you for saying that. I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. Like, you know what I mean? And it really isn't a competition. I couldn't agree with you more. And that is really sad when people get into, like, to the nth degree, to the point where they're cutting other musicians down even to try to make themselves look better, because they think it's this big competition. It's so the wrong idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're so correct, man. And again, thank you for making that point. Such a huge thing. And so what a great way to end the interview.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you taking time with me, sir.
Oh, hell yeah, man. And before we do it, before we fully end off, I did want to give you 60 seconds. If there's anything you wanted to plug, all things Lynn Duckett, fire away.
All the things that I want to plug. Well, I'm going to plug. Well, I'm actually, which is something I have not done. I'm like the least social media person on the planet, because I've been able to stay pretty busy without having to flood myself with social media. But I'm ready to do it now. So I'm about to start a YouTube channel, and I'm about to start my website, which will be jlynduckett.com. And so when you guys see me out there, do all the share, like, do all those things.
Yeah, and depending on when this interview drops, I'll stay, obviously keep me in the loop when that stuff's there, and then as soon as you have the links, I'll drop them into the description of this video. Awesome. Hopefully that'll all be up and running by the time this video drops.
Awesome,
man. Well, Lynn, again, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time with me, and just incredible the stuff you had to say. And everyone else, until the next episode, this has been the What's Your Truth podcast. We'll see you next time. Later. Yeah, you follow your own rules and you preach them on to me, but you don't think before you act.
What's your truth? Oh, what's your truth? Now you got down on